Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1. The Human I Knew, a Good Man, written by a teller of tall tales. Samuel was subdued as he fixed his own damage. It had been largely superficial, but massively painful. Dr. Samuel had gotten a transmission from the rest of the pirate fleet. "Humans, surrender your ship. We have our own humans to send." As Dr. Samuel gently applied the last self-adhesive carapace plaster, he paused and said, "I want you, Neil, to be on the FTL pods. Bring this one with you." I was taken aback. My name was Cathnail, but he'd never referred to me so simply.
"You'll die if there's no one here to help you."
Dr. Samuel nodded, a soft look in his eyes. "I am okay with that. My life is not worth risking yours, or anyone else's." I stood firm, crossing all four of my arms across my chest. The human and the Cothdorian shared similar characteristics, to height and weight, but the Cothdorian had more arms and eyes, perhaps more speed. Yet he wanted me to leave.
"I will not leave, Samuel,"
he sighed. Then, before I could blink, Samuel slapped me, hard and fast. I blacked out. And when I awoke, I was in one of the pods. The ship was fading away. What I know of the human I knew after that moment comes from recovered footage of the ship's interior. A calm, quiet Samuel walked through the halls, a cigarette between his lips, hands in pockets of his white coat. He paused at the open security room, stepping inside and out of view. When I saw him next, it bothered me. The patient, kind, peaceful and wonderful human I knew, always in the stark white coat and black turtleneck. He stepped out with a ballistic rifle, of all things, a thick fabric vest, probably armor, over the bare chest. But that wasn't the disturbing part. At first, it was the tattoos, hundreds, if not thousands of names in black ink, up his arms from just past his wrist and leading to his torso beneath the vest. His eyes seemed to sparkle, but I could tell there were tears. Dr. Samuel charged towards the docking bay as the ship rumbled, cameras snapping to his location. The first human pirates never saw Samuel, largely because Samuel shot the main lights out in the hallway, dropping dark. The night vision on cameras showed Samuel, firearm spitting lead and fury, until it ran empty. The pirate staggered, attempted to fight, but fell as quick, sharp thrusts of almost dance-like wielding of Samuel's rifle. The ship's floors splattered with human blood. There were no more, alien and human alike. The pirates were numerous and brought artificial illumination. Samuel ran a laser and plasma bolts arced and splattered around him, a splash of bright plasma catching his leg. He crumpled beneath him, and he fell. The pirates converged and the burly human threatened Samuel. "Doctors don't belong on the front lines." He kicked Samuel over, then froze. Samuel had a large smile on his face, illuminated by pirate lights. He spoke, and his words chilled me to the bones. "I win. I'm only one on your ship, you sad excuses for pirates." He laughed, and to my surprise lifted himself to his feet. The plasma was eating his flesh, but his bone, or lack thereof, was magnetic. "I am Dr. Samuel LeBorn, medic first class of the Terran Empire Marines, and I challenge you to a one-on-one combat, Captain." The big human laughed but seemed to agree, tossing his blaster aside and activating a cybernetic eye. "Your death, Samuel." A heavy fist flew towards Samuel's face. Then he caught it, sweeping to the side and punching upwards into the rival male's elbow joint, the joint bending backwards, as Samuel stated. "Fractured and dislocated elbow joint." A swift punch to the throat, and Samuel growled, "Broken hyoid. If it's not fixed, you'll die within the cycle." Then, sweeping behind the male, he yanked the ruined arm over his shoulder, the captain screaming in pain as he was brought to the ground on his back, breathless, where Samuel took a hold of the man's head, almost gently. Then, with a violent twist, the captain went silent as Samuel barely whispered, "Broken C5 and C6 vertebra. Immediately fatal." He stood, staring down at the pirates before pointing at the docking bay. "Leave my ship now." It almost looked as though the pirates might listen. Then, as one, they raised their weapons, and Samuel disappeared in a flash of shattered light. I looked up from the podium at Samuel's funeral, a mass congregation staring back. So I say this. The human I knew taught me the value of patience, hard work, mercy, and true humility. I wiped the tears from my eyes, a shudder in my voice as I said, but most importantly, he taught me the human concept of a peaceful man. In my species, a peaceful one does not partake in military actions, nor fighting. They are purely non-combatant. This, I thought, was peaceful. I took another deep breath of the thin Terran air. Those of my species I thought peaceful. They were harmless. Samuel, he was so much more than a doctor. He was my mentor, a valuable intellectual, but most importantly, when the time came, then he was given a choice to surrender the lives of millions of alien species for his own kind. But instead, he chose to fight, not because they were close to him, not because they were currency. I stared at the podium. He saved them simply because he was a good man. I stand here today to say, I took a deep breath, Dr. Samuel's only wish, as I found from the datapad he left me, was that we continue the good that we do, not because of the evil in the world, but despite it. I stepped down from the podium into the silent yard of the old human burial ground. I'm going to miss Samuel, but I'm not going to forget him. End of story. Story number 2. Arrogance, written by Dynamia. The Benedor was the most advanced race in the galaxy, and they used all lesser races as their servants. When they think a new species is ready, they send a conquering force and subjugate them to add them to their slave ranks. After the scouts returned from their reconnaissance mission of Earth, the king looked over the report and decided to send a single warship to conquer the humans, as their defenses were that primitive. The warship arrived in orbit, and within an hour it had destroyed all weapons of any significance, no matter where they were or how they were hidden. It then sent down an unarmed craft and left orbit. The craft parked itself in front of the UN headquarters building and broadcast a message in all languages around the world.
We are the Benedor. The destruction of all of your weapons was to show you that you are completely at our mercy. Our technology is superior to yours and far beyond your understanding. You will provide 1 billion able-bodied breeding-age humans to be willing slaves for our empire. You will continue to supply slaves as we see fit, so that you understand how powerless you are. We have given your scientists full access to a ship parked at your UN headquarters. They'll be able to access the databanks and see our history, and how we are in control of the entire galaxy. They will also have access to the technology on board the ship, though they will not be able to understand it. In 3 days, a single representative will board this craft to return to us with your decision, and will become our first slave. Failure to comply will result in your entire species being taken as slaves and will face eventual extinction. Humanity sent in the scientists, and they downloaded all information they could get. The Benedor's boast was not bragging. They were the top dog in the galaxy. Nobody could stand up to them. The scientists studied the tech and could not figure out what energy it used, let alone how it worked. Engineers pored over every system, trying to glean any usable information. After 3 days were up, the volunteer boarded the ship and it took off, headed back to its home world. When it exited warp and entered into the system, a communication was received. We are glad you humans realized the futility of resistance and recognized our superior technology.
Yes, answered Jim. Our scientists were not able to understand how your technology works. He continued, as he could see the craft approaching a planet that looks to be a single city. But, we did figure out one thing.
What insignificant detail have you learned that would do you any good?
The voice asked sarcastically. We figured out how to hotwire the warp drive, Jim said as he pressed a button engaging the warp drive and sending the ship crashing into the planet below with enough force to cause the core to emerge from the other side, effectively turning it inside out. And it exploded. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the Tier 5 members Marky, Cam Maxwell, Caspar Arnolds, Oakfield, Lord Azrakul, and it's difficult to pronounce. Thank you very much.